once the side panels are done, we can start putting in doors and windows. So let's go ahead and open a file. If you want, you can follow along on your own model. Under NurbsCar, it's called NurbsCar 0704 NurbsCar. And this is pretty much the same model that we had before. I did do a little bit of tweaking of this last curve to get some more continuity. And what I did was I actually added 2 additional curves. And if we look at it from the right side view, we can't see them. But if we turn on Properties, turn on See-Through, so I right-click on the thing, Properties, See-Through, we can see that I've created, if I select this model here, see I've created 2 curves to represent the door. And essentially what I did was I just traced the outline of the door from the right viewpoint and the window for the door. Now, if you want, you can pause this movie right now and go ahead and draw your own curves, or you can follow along with the curves I have on this particular model. Now, what we need to do is we need to create an additional surface, because what we're going to do is we're going to trim out, and if you remember what a trim is, it just basically removes part of a NURB surface. So what we need to do for the door is we need to trim out the hole for the door in the side panel, but then we need to create another surface for the actual door itself. So the first thing we're going to do is create the door. So I'm going to copy this surface. I'm going to go ahead over here, select Surface Subobject, highlight that, go to Move, hold down my Shift key, and drag this out. And we're going to go ahead and make it, we're going to go ahead and make it an independent copy. Now I want to create the actual door. So what I want to do is take this curve that I've drawn, this free curve, and I want to project it onto this second surface that I've created. So what I'm going to do, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to select the original surface, which is, go ahead over here to Surface, select this original surface, and I'm going to go ahead and hide it, just so I don't accidentally select it. Then I'm going to go to my right viewport, open up my NURBS Creation Toolbox here, and first thing I need to do is project this curve onto the surface. How do I do that? I do it by creating a vector projected curve, which means it will project according to the line of sight that you're viewing this car at, which is from the right. So it'll be an exactly perpendicular, which is how we want it. So I'm going to go ahead and select this, select the curve, and then highlight the surface, and then left click again. And if I go into my perspective viewport, I have that curve projected onto that second body panel I created. Now all I have to do to create the door is highlight this curve. So I go over to Curve Subobject, highlight the curve, and I select Trim. That creates the door hole, which we're going to do next. But actually I want to flip the trim. So let me turn off See-Through here. There. So I've created a door panel. That's my door. Now if I want, I can actually use this window to trim out another window. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and move these curves here. I'm going to move these in front of this panel, so that way I can see it from my right side view. And I'm going to go ahead and let's do another projection. We're going to project this window curve onto the door and then trim it out again to create the hole for the window. So again, I do Vector Projected Curve, select the curve, highlight the surface in blue, left click again. Now that's on the surface. As you can see, let's go into perspective. And then all I have to do is select this curve, highlight the curve on surface, and then I just trim. Now I have a door with a hole in it for the window. Now I want to go ahead and create an opening for the door on the actual side panel itself. So what I'm going to do is, let's go ahead and hide this. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and select this surface, and I'm going to name it left door, so that way I know what it is. And then I'm going to go ahead and unhide left side panel, and then I'm going to hide this one. So now I have the left side panel is open. Now I'm going to go ahead and create the opening for the door in the left side panel. So let's go back into our right viewport. The one thing we should take account for is that the actual opening for the door is actually going to be slightly larger than the door itself. So how do we do that? Let's do that by creating an offset curve. So I'm going to go ahead and select this door outline curve, and I'm going to go here and go create offset curve, highlight this curve, and just drag it a little bit to the right, and then by this little spinner here, actually I'm going to have to do some typing here, so maybe 0.1, maybe 0.15. Yeah, okay, so this is just a slightly larger curve for the door opening. Now I can use that and project that onto the side panel to actually create my door opening. So I'm going to go ahead here and do vector projected curve, select the outer curve, project it, go into my perspective viewport, and select this curve that's on this surface and trim it. There we go. I've got all these curves sitting out here, so I should probably hide a bunch of them. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and hide these. And I'm going to go ahead over to surface, unhide my surface, select it, and then just move that in. Now, if you notice, when I actually move it, it actually ghosts the entire side panel, because that's really what we have. But I've actually trimmed out everything but the door opening. So now I have a door within the side panel. Now let's go ahead and create one more thing. We need to create that rear window. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, I'm going to go ahead and highlight the model. I'm going to go ahead and make it see-through, so that way I can see my back plane there. I'm going to maximize my right viewport, and I'm going to create a CV curve, and then just click and drag and just follow this outline. Now for these straight lines, I pretty much I don't do any in-betweens there, because you really don't need them, and it makes for a straighter line. Around these curves I usually do 4 or 5 control points just to make sure I get it fairly accurately, and close the curve. There we go. Now I have this curve, and I can call it rear window curve, and let's go ahead and project that onto the surface. Project onto that surface. Now it's on the back surface there. I select the curve from the perspective viewport, curve, select, and trim. Okay. Now I'm going to go properties, turn off see-through, and actually let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and hide this panel so we can see it. There we go. So we've got a door, and got a ton of curves out here which we can hide, but I've got a door with windows, so now we can move on to the back of the car. But before we do that, there we go, there's a nice render of it. So that's pretty good. Obviously we're going to have to build insides for the door and that sort of thing, but let's go ahead and mirror this over before we start working on the back of the car. Let's go ahead and select these surfaces, and just create mirror surfaces for that. And again, my offset, I think it's negative 5.25. Let's see. Yep, there it is. Now if I want to see this a little bit better, I can configure my viewport and force two-sided, so that way I can actually see that panel. So that back panel's coming up there, and let's go ahead and mirror the door. And again, negative 5.25. That's my magic number for this. It may be a little bit different for you, but there we go. So now we've got a lot of the car. Hey, this is getting pretty cool. Okay, so now obviously the next thing we should do is probably just do the back of the car, and then we'll keep going from there. So that will be in the next little movie.